Welcome to another episode of the Neoliberalism podcast. I'm Ronaldo McKenzie, the host and creator and the president of the Neoliberal Corporation. And with me is my co-host and also one of the senior advisors and board members at the Neoliberal Corporation, Dante Nelson.
Hey guys, happy Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving, yes. Well, we should say belated Thanksgiving. We're still in the Thanksgiving season.
Yes,
Thank you so much, yes. Thank you for making it the Neoliberal Corporation and the Neoliberal Round podcast. And it's sorry, I hate saying the word black.
Black Friday.
I hate saying black. Can we say White Friday? Okay.
Yes, what is the reason for it?
I mean, anyway,
Why do they call it Black Friday?
I don't know. Black. Well, I don't even know. I mean, the word black is usually either something bad or good. I don't even have black beauty and black, but I don't know. I hate using the word black. But we know today is the day after Thanksgiving, where you get a lot of deals. And we are also here at the Neoliberal Round, Neoliberal Corporation. We provide several solutions and services. And our main book, our main text, Neoliberalism, is on sale. And just so you know, you can visit our store page at store.theneoliberal.com and you can check out our deal. Of course, the Neoliberalism paperback and hardcover books are both going. They're going on sale. One is for $39.99, the paperback book, and the hardcover is for $49.99.
Alright, so you said that the paperback is $39.99?
Yes, $39.99 people, and the hardcover is for $49.99.
Okay.
The book is also available in audio at the Audible, and I think you can. It's for $0. It's $0 if you have a subscription with the Audible. We are also giving away. We have free. If you would like a free audiobook, a promotional copy, we will give it to you for free. Email us at info@theneoliberal.com. You can also visit us on Twitter, Ronaldo McKenzie, or the Neoliberal Co. We visit us on Facebook. But call us at 445-260-9198. We'll send you a copy. We have a couple available. We have about 50, 25 for the UK Audible, and 25 for the US. But today, in today's podcast, we're going to share a recording that we did on Spaces, on Twitter Spaces, where Michael Scott, who actually is the person who narrated the book that I wrote. And so I have a bit of it. He read the preface. I have a sample of the book, about I think 4 or 5 minutes preface, and you're gonna love it. I really enjoy the book, the audio book. I love his voice. You're gonna love it.
Yes, I think the audience will like it.
Yes.
It will be very intense.
And so here is Michael Scott, and here is Ronaldo McKenzie on Spaces on the Neoliberal Round.
This is a sample of my book, Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. Here is Michael Scott reading the preface of the book via the Audible.
This is Audible. Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. Written by Reverend Ronaldo C. McKenzie. Narrated by Michael Scott. Preface. When we hear of Jamaica or the Caribbean, we think of beautiful islands of paradise with sun, sea, and sand, reggae music, cannabis, and Irie people like Usain Bolt, people who are living out their best dreams, desires, and lives. But this book analyzes this motif given the historical and current economic and political situation in Jamaica and the Caribbean and the global South. In an attempt to escape the adverse realities of poverty, inequality, and injustice, the people of the global South find themselves in North metropolises with very little agency and minimal change to their lives. In fact, except for the use of cleaning neoliberal waste, the immigrant is usually portrayed as an alien with 3 heads and big sharp teeth, seeking to steal and destroy the profit and disrupt society. As such, we will discuss Black, Brown, and Pan-African struggles for economic prosperity, justice, and freedom, and consider efforts, abilities, or inabilities to chart their own futures since decolonization and realize real political independence and economic prosperity. Perhaps they are charting their own course by the few corrupt of the status quo, who are benefiting from partnerships with the neoliberal regime of the Washington Consensus, advocates of the bureaucratic phenomenon, while the masses are left behind. John Williamson, the inventor of the term Washington Consensus, believes the term has two quite different meanings. First is the meaning he gave the term, which involved consensus around a set of 10 policy reforms, which he believed were widely accepted as beneficial by economists. In the original formulation, they were 1. Fiscal discipline, 2. A reduction of public expenditure priorities toward fields offering both high economic returns and the potential to improve income distribution, such as primary healthcare, primary education, and infrastructure. 3. Tax reform to lower marginal rates and broaden the tax base. 4. Interest rate liberalization. 5. A competitive exchange rate. 6. Trade liberalization. 7. Liberalization of FDI inflows. 8. Privatization. 9. Deregulation, in the sense of abolishing barriers to entry and exit. And 10. Securing property rights.
Process of neoliberalizing, or the process of structural adjustment that the Caribbean had to go through. As outlined and detailed in Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. And of course, this is the audio book read by Michael Scott. If you are just joining us, you are listening to the audio recording of my book, which is via the Audible, narrated by Michael Scott.
This is Audible.
Earlier you asked me a question while I was playing the recording of the book. What was it that you had asked me? Yeah, you did ask me about what consensus was. About 10 policy reforms. Yeah, the consensus around 10 policy reforms. And I'm saying that the Caribbean, the agreement was that if the Caribbean, the global South countries who just became independent, many of them became independent or becoming independent, if they were to plug themselves into, the consensus was that for them to become part of the global economy, they would need to submit or agree to some conditions, which includes, and we call it structural adjustment. They'll have to adjust their economy, readjust their economy, which includes implementing or reforming their policies or developing policies which involves facilitating free trade, and which didn't really. The problem was that it was bureaucratic because these 10 policy reforms weren't followed by the big countries, the post-industrial countries, the global north countries.
Who were the big countries?
The US, Canada, France, Germany, the post-industrial countries, the countries who had given independence to many of these global south countries, and now the global south countries were, and suddenly the global south countries were met with globalization, which meant that they have to now open up their economies, and to do that they have to reform. They have to get rid of any barrier to free trade, and so the policy reform that John Williamson is talking about here are the things that needed to have happened in order for these global south countries to come into the global economy, and coming into the global economy means it's good. That was the idea, because it means that you'll be now part of you get part of the benefits of globalization. Means you'll be able to export, benefit from trade, benefit from partnership with other countries. Say for example, you develop specialization, and your specialization will allow you to export and to gain foreign exchange from that, which is supposed to translate in the economy. But that never happened. That's not what happened. What happened is that many of these countries open up their economies, and they are new fledgling countries just coming into the global economy. They are weaker economies, vulnerable, and many of them, they could not compete because these other countries, big countries, were also producing some of the very goods that they were producing, and so it ultimately killed their economy because they couldn't compete. And they were doing, and these reforms, these conditions that they developed, these 10 policy reforms that the agreement was that these 10 policy reforms were supposed to help to develop these economies, were supposed to help to bring these economies in, bring economic gain. Of course, W. Rostow talked about it, was talking about it. All these, that was the classical economies. They all agree, but it was I believe it was a strategy. It was bureaucratic because, fine, yeah, maybe it was the agreement that if these countries practice trade liberalization and liberalization of foreign direct inflows and privatization and deregulation, if all countries across the board was practicing, maybe it would have been fair. But the fact is, these countries, these global north countries, these post-industrial countries, who were already developing and were already wealthy, okay, create these policies that all these countries were supposed to sign to, which and they were already at an advantage. And because they were ultimately at an advantage, all it did was to create an opportunity for them to impose and to penetrate these global south countries.
Because if
okay, that's all it did.
That would have expanded the growth within the industrial.
And the worst, and to add insult to injury, these post-industrial countries weren't doing anything, were not practicing what they were preaching. They were not doing what they had established were the 10 policy reforms, or the reforms that the policies that were supposed to help to facilitate globalization and free trade and so on. They weren't doing it. They created it, but the expectation was that no, the global south countries will continue to do that, because if everybody was doing it, then it would be more competition. More competition means less profits. Let's continue with the record.
As such, we will discuss Black, Brown, and Pan-African struggles for economic prosperity, justice, and freedom, and consider efforts, abilities, or inabilities to chart their own futures since decolonization and realize real political independence and economic prosperity. Perhaps they are charting their own course by the few corrupt of the status quo, who are benefiting from partnerships with the neoliberal regime of the Washington Consensus, advocates of the bureaucratic phenomenon, while the masses are left behind. John Williamson, the inventor of the term Washington Consensus, believes the term has two quite different meanings. First is the meaning he gave the term, which involved consensus around a set of 10 policy reforms, which he believed were widely accepted as beneficial by economists. In the original formulation, they were 1. Fiscal discipline, 2. A reduction of public expenditure priorities toward fields offering both high economic returns and the potential to improve income distribution, such as primary healthcare, primary education, and infrastructure. 3. Tax reform to lower marginal rates and broaden the tax base. 4. Interest rate liberalization. 5. A competitive exchange rate. 6. Trade liberalization. 7. Liberalization of FDI inflows. 8. Privatization. 9. Deregulation, in the sense of abolishing barriers to entry and exit. And 10. Securing property rights. Second is the meaning the term has acquired. Market fundamentalism or neoliberalism. Laissez-faire, Reaganomics, let us bash the state, the markets will resolve everything. For our examination, we will use the term in the latter, rather than the former common usage to denote the power dynamic at play in neoliberal globalization and neoliberalism. The approach will be interdisciplinary and comprehensive, drawing on various disciplines and experiences and going beyond Jamaica to consider the wider Caribbean and the diaspora in the United States. It draws on past and present works on the subject and relies on readers' abilities, knowledge, primary or secondary, and skills to challenge, critically analyze, and develop their own thinking within a Jamaican, Caribbean, its diaspora, and or American context, given the century's challenges and opportunities. This book is facilitatory, as it provides another opportunity to holistically explore challenges, opportunities, and solutions to Caribbean and Pan-African problems, so they can continue to develop and express their thoughts in a structured, creative way that is unique to them them, one that will lead toward meaningful engagements and sustained improvements for them and their people's standard of living. This project is divided into two parts. Part A will examine whether Jamaica's inequality trends from the mid-1970s up to the beginning of the 21st century were a consequence of the structural adjustment policies stipulated by the neoliberal technocrats of the Washington Consensus in Jamaica. The study does not only concern itself with Jamaica, but Jamaica provides a case and a context within which to engage the subject matter. We will attempt to do so by tracing the impact of structural adjustment on Jamaica's economy and the relationship to this on income inequality and poverty in Jamaica from 1960s to 2008 with updated 2020 figures. We will argue that given the premise, Jamaica presents a unique cause and effect scenario that continues to question the veracity and validity of the premise that neoliberalism is the sine qua non of development. We will explore and compare Jamaica with other Caribbean contexts and consider situations that are similar to these contexts in the diaspora of the United States, whose people in the inner cities are also reeling from the effects of neoliberal globalization. For consideration of this study, which began in 2010, I must admit that I am biased by my own experiences as a post-colonial man living in a post-industrial country or superpower, the USA. What voice do I have, if any, and what are the threats to that voice? We will consider Caribbean and Pan-African contexts and thinkers such as Fanon and his contemporaries who have questioned whether Jamaica and other Caribbean and former colonies and their people are free of external control and power. We will argue that this illusion of freedom comes from a dominant globalist worldview within which those in the global south find themselves competing, not just for scarce benefits and sport. This is on.
Thank you for listening to an excerpt of the preface read by Michael Scott. The name of the book, of course, is Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. It goes on sale on Monday. It's a textbook that is an erudite analysis of Jamaica's economic history. So it is a book that is always relevant, but it was published in 2021. I'm Ronaldo McKenzie, the author of the book. Please message me, and if you'd like a copy, you can also message me at via Twitter, and you can also go to store.theneoliberal.com. The book is also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and books all over the world or close to you. Please visit us at theneoliberal.com and RonaldoCMcKenzie.com. Well, good.